Yeah, so basically it all started kind of out of urgency, not for the best reasons, but basically what ended up happening was I had a very very close friend of mine. We'll call him David, and really close to my heart, really really good friend. And he called me up one day and he was like, "Hey man, I really need some money," and I was like, "What do you mean?" And he gave me some backstory of kind of a situation. It was kind of life and death, not life and death. But immediately he was just like, "Yeah, man, I have no money. Like, I need like I think it was like 5K." And he was like, "All right, I need 5K. Do you know anybody that can help?" And he called me, and I've told this to one or two people, but I've never heard a man so desperate in my life. It was crazy. So he calls me up and he's telling me this thing, and he's like, at the time I was running Smiles Against Cancer, which was my nonprofit organization, for kids battling cancer. We donate toys, but at the time I was like, well, he asked me, he's like, "Hey, does anybody from Smiles, like, can anybody help? I need this 5,000, and I know him, and he wouldn't ask for it unless he really needed it." And I was like, "Hey man, I don't know, I don't think so." So basically, I'm in my kitchen while he's calling me. I'm at home by myself. I was like 16, and I'm sitting in my kitchen. And I was like, "All right." He hangs up the phone. I'm like, "Hey, let me see what I could do." So I'm just looking at my phone, and I'm like, "Okay, what are my different options?" So I start thinking. I'm looking at my kitchen. I'm like, "What can I do?" I have my phone on me. Like, can I borrow money? Can I sell stuff? I don't know. A bunch of things are going through my mind. So I go to my room. I'm like, "Can I sell anything?" So I look at my room. I'm like, "Can I sell anything? Can I offer something? What can I do?" And at the end of it, I looked to my left, and it was right around summer break. So it was like maybe in the beginning of summer. And I noticed, for some one way or another, I got a penny board. And I look at the penny board, and I look at my phone. I'm like, okay, I really only have two choices. Like, I could just make this another one of those, like, "Oh, too bad, can't really do anything about it. Sorry, Dave." Or I could try. So I got my penny board, and I'm like, "What can I sell?" And I'm like, two things were going through my mind at the time. I was already, before that call, I was debating it because I wanted to start a real business for my own. Because, nonprofit's not even for yourself, it's for others. And, Boy Scouts, a bunch of different things. But I was considering a bunch of different businesses, and I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, I wanted to start either an app company, because I know it was like software and all that sort of stuff, or I could start an agency. And I was looking at the pros and cons, and I was like, okay, what's gonna make me money the fastest? And I already tried making like 3 apps before, and I'm a horrible coder. I don't even understand code. And I was like, well, an agency, I just got to sell something to somebody, right? From the 10-minute videos I seen from like Alex Ramosi and Iman Gadzhi, that type of thing. And I was just thinking, I'm like, what can I do? So basically, I was like, all right, I know how to sell from Smiles. I sold chocolate bars, I sold toys, I sold all these things. So I was like, all right, well, might as well start a agency. And I don't even think I knew what an agency was at the time. But basically, I was like, all right, well, I took my penny board, and I'm like, well, let me sell something to somebody. So the first thing, immediately, I'm like, okay, am I going to sell to people, or am I going to sell to companies? Well, people probably don't have like 5K, and they're not going to give it me like that, but maybe a company is. So I go on my penny board, and I go through a little suburb outside of Chicago, and I was very grateful to live in there. It was pretty nice. And I go on my penny board, and as I'm going to business, like maybe like 4 or 5 blocks down, I'm literally in my phone typing up, what is a Facebook ad? I'm like, how do you do Facebook ads? What is a Facebook ads? How can you explain it? I even did like organic, I searched up a bunch of different things on my penny board, writing to the companies. And I go to the company, and there's like this little, I wouldn't say it's a strip mall, but it's a kind of strip mall, and it's like where the chiropractors are, dentists, all that sort of stuff, clinics. And maybe it's like a 15-minute penny board like skate over there. So in those 15 minutes, I just like learn as much as I can about Facebook ads. And I'm like, here we go. So I go in the first place, and funny enough, I don't know why, but I really wasn't that nervous going into it. I was just more like, I think it was just because of the desperation I heard from my friend. I was like, there's no reason to be nervous. Like, he's in 10 times more pain than I am. So yeah, anyways, I go into the place. I think it was like a chiropractor place. I'm like, hey, listen, my name's Alex. I think my pitch was like, hey, good to meet you. Yeah. Listen, my name's Alex. I have a social media company, and we're helping clients around, similar to whatever your chiropractor's name is. I wanted to share an idea with you. It was like, I basically was like, yeah, I don't know if you guys are running Facebook ads, but if the owner's there, or whomever's like running the company or the business, I would love to talk to them. And they were like, oh, come back tomorrow. All right, perfect. I go to the next place, literally right next to it. Come back tomorrow. Next place, come back to, and I do the same thing for that whole little strip mall. It was maybe like 5 businesses, and everybody was like, for some reason or another, I don't know if it was a holiday, but everyone was like, yeah, come back tomorrow. Okay, fine. So I was like, I could just stop here, or I could keep going. So I just kept on going, and I went across the street on this big street, and I go and I start knocking on different doors, or I go into different businesses, and I go and I go and I go and I go, and by the end of it, maybe like 5 hours later, I knocked on like maybe 15 to 20 different businesses. Like, it was crazy. At one point, I went to State Farm. Like, I was that desperate. I went to State Farm. I was like, hey, can I, I'm trying to run your Facebook ads, and super even skinnier than I am now, and I was 16, so like nobody really took me serious, but they respected that I was like doing that stuff, so they were like, all right. But I want to State Farm. They're like, yeah, we don't handle that, it's corporate. And I even went to, I think it was a Chevy dealership, whoever makes their Corvettes, and I even pitched them. And funny enough, that place, the Chevrolet place, and one of the first clinics, like, kind of were like, okay, come back tomorrow. But anyways, I do that, and 5 hours later, I'm just like, I'm distraught. I'm like, sucks, because 5 hours later, I had no money. I knocked on, it was summer already, so it was freaking hot as heck. And I knocked on a bunch of companies, and I had no money. So after that point, I'm like, okay. I had like $5 left in my wallet from like what I had. And I went to this little barbecue place with like Nick's, and I got myself like a smoothie or shake. I think it was a shake. And I bring it home, and I'm just like, I'd never been depressed, and I wasn't depressed then, but it was like I was so distraught. I was like, son of a, I had nothing. I literally, like, just no results. And I was just very distraught. And around that time, my mom came back from work, and I told her the situation, and she couldn't fork up the money, so it was even tougher. And yeah, it just sucked. It was very tough. And so I was 16. Looking back at it now, it's not a big deal. Like, I just knocked on like doors for 5 hours. It's really not a big deal. But at the time, I was like, this sucks. And anyways, I'm like, hey, listen, I don't have the money, but I'm gonna keep trying to look. He's like, okay. But next day, I do the same thing again. I go back, I follow up to all the places that were like, come back tomorrow, which was almost everybody. And out of like maybe 10 companies I went to that day, or 15, 2 of them were like, huh, maybe interested. And one of them was like a chiropractor place, and the other one was, funny enough, the Chevrolet dealership, or the Chevy dealership. And both of them were like, okay, well, and then I spoke to the owner or the manager of each place, and they were like, oh, interesting. And then the chiropractor one, I had a longer conversation, and I sat back and everything. I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, listen, you want to make sure that the Facebook ads look nice, right? I mean, what you guys have now, I want to make sure that I have a video here, and we have a camera over here, and I want to make sure that we record you for the. I'm trying to look all professional, and for the Chevrolet dealership, I'm like, you know what? I think the Corvette would be a great marketing tech. Have you ever used Facebook ads? I was just like talking out my ass, and but anyways, the point was like, in my mind, I'm like, listen, even if I get the money, I'm not even gonna spend it. I'm just gonna learn as much as I can. Let me just first get the money. I wasn't gonna spend. I was gonna give it to Dave, my friend. Now you know his name. But yeah, I was like, that was it. So I'm like, I'll figure it out later. Let me just get some money first. Maybe not the best play looking back, most ethical, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? So did that, and yeah, the first place, the chiropractor place, they were like, okay, cool, just send us a quote. And I got their email, and I was like, cool. I got their email address and all this, and I started pricing stuff out. I remember going on my laptop, and what should I charge for like social media marketing? It wasn't even Facebook ads for them. They wanted like social media content, and I think I quoted them like $500. It was less than $500. And surprise, surprise, when you're talking to small businesses, that's like a crazy amount to them. So they were like, no, thank you, and they just ghosted me after. Freaking. So I went to the Chevrolet dealership, and it was a few meetings, I remember. And even one of my briefcase my dad gave me, and I went back again and again and again, and nothing really panned out from that. I made them a few ad creatives, the first time I ever like designed for that purpose, and yeah, nothing really happened after that. They kind of just ghosted me, and I didn't go back because I didn't think the guy wanted to see me anymore. So I'm like, all right. But anyways, that was the start of it. And I still have no money. I have no. I don't even know what Facebook ads is yet. Like, I'm starting to understand. Oh, there's a thing that you advertise on Facebook, and you're supposed to make money off of it. I'm like, okay. And I had a choice. I was like, well, I could just quit and start all over, but I'm already like going through hell. Not really, but I'm already going through it. Might as well keep going. So I kept on going, and yeah, for the next 6 months, I just started doing everything I can to get my first client. And it was summer, so I spent the first, since probably June, for about to be 2 years now. June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Like, yeah, 6 months. Cold calling, cold emailing. I made like a VSL. I send mail. I literally send mail. I made this thing called a cover frame. I sent DMs. I did a bunch of stuff. Like I remember, like specifically for cold email, like I had a little bit of savings and I dropped like $200 on a software and it didn't work for Jack. It worked nothing at all. But now we use it and it's getting results and whatnot. So looking back, I just didn't know how to use it, but I spent $200 really for nothing. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, well if automation doesn't work, I'm gonna manually do it. And before I did that, I cold call people. So basically, I started understanding kind of like, okay, you need a niche and you need to sell and the offer thing. I started learning Alex Ramosi and the Emangazis, right? But yeah, I started learning more and more and more, and I don't want to say obsessed to the point of like I couldn't like not sleep of it, but I just started like that was all of I thought about. Like I was just obsessed like learning what is a Facebook ads, how do you sell, how do you market your offer, all these different things. And maybe I was a little obsessed looking back, but I did that whole thing. And yeah, I cold called people. There was at one point where like I know I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but like I'm just kind of going off the rip or whatever. So I'm trying to piece everything together. But at one point, like I scraped together. I didn't even scrape. Basically, what I did was I would go in my backyard because I didn't want my mom to know any of this. Like I don't know why. I just didn't want to. I just wanted to, in my mind, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna surprise her with a $10 million home, and boom, that's it. Now you know. But now you know, Mom, if you're watching this. But yeah, so basically I went on Google and I searched up solar panel companies and this, and what I did for like maybe like 2 weeks is I cold emailed every single solar company there was, and I did it like everyone manual. Like I'm talking like thousands of companies, or I don't know, yeah, it had to have been thousands. I remember it was crazy, but 1,000 solar companies, and I manually inputted their emails and I personalized it, and I even got a green screen and I recorded myself, and it was like. I remember I made something up and I was like, maybe I could pull a clip of it, but basically I pretended to have this like AI software, and I called it UBD, like I think it was like unique behavioral data or something, where it's like, and I was like, and I copied from this other dude, and I'm basically like, listen, XYZ company, and I would like personalize that part, and I was like, hey, listen, I think I used to swear, I was like, something that you don't give a crap. I was basically like, oh, I made a joke. I'm not gonna say the whole thing because it's really long. But basically, I was like, "Hey, my name's Alex. I'm with IX Media. And we serve blah blah blah. And I know you don't give a crap." And that's when I got into my real pitch. I remember that, and I did like 100 takes at like 12 in the morning, or 12 at night, and I edited that, and I pretty much uploaded it to every single company that I knew in solar wise. I went through that whole Google list. And as I went through the Google list, now looking back, it really didn't mean anything, because if you're going to cold email somebody and you're going to send the video in the very first email, like it's almost 100% going to go to spam, or you just get bounced as a whole. So I did that, and then after that didn't work, I was like, okay, well, what if I just do more? So instead of that, first time I ever did cold calls. So not at that point, I was like, all right, well, now I have a bunch of email addresses, I have a bunch of companies, might as well cold call them all. And I probably did this for like a month, give or take, but I just cold called like every solar company there was. And when I say this, like I'm telling, like every single solar company that I could find on Google, like I went through the entire page. Like I did Illinois, I literally went state by state, all solar companies in Illinois, Kansas, Arkansas, or is it? Yeah, 2 different places. New York, Florida, Texas, like a bunch of different places. And every single one I cold called and a cold email. And that's kind of when I got the first a little bit of success, because I actually got like a booked meeting, or I got like a few from cold calls, and nothing ever panned out crazy, but I remember I got as far as like talking to the owners, like some decently big solar companies, and more specifically like this one company, like I even quoted them and everything. I was like, this is what we're gonna do, but the good old let me go think about it, and then ghosted. So that was tough. But yeah, I did that, and that's when I started kind of feeling like, dang, this is actually getting like really tough. But for me, like the thing that I kept reminding myself was like, it's just, what else you gonna do? Like, your dad or your mom didn't raise you to be like a fat piece of crap. You know what I mean? Like just like not doing anything. And I was already in my senior year at the time, so I was like, So I ended up just trying to do I tried a few other things, and at one point, this was already 6 months in, so I started understanding like kind of like the culture and social media and like how you're supposed to get clients. I started watching more like YouTube videos, And one thing I kept hearing was like, hey, you never want to sign e-com brands as a beginner because they're very, very hard to get. And you're gonna have an easier time with smaller businesses that are like, you know, so like not direct to consumer, but a business to business, and you know, like plumbing and HVAC and chiropractors and dentists and med spas and all these different things. And that's what I was doing, but I'm like, I'm not getting any freaking results. So I was like, all right, well, what am I gonna do? And again, I was like, at that point, nothing was working. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna try e-commerce. And I had like, I was somewhat, what's the word? Competent. And I was like, all right, well, I'm cold calling a bunch of people and I'm cold emailing. What's the best place that they're going to respond? And in my mind, my eyes back then, it was Instagram. So that's when it actually started. And basically, it was already wintertime by this time. It's funny how it's like, yeah, it's just like flashbacks, but it was already wintertime at that point. And what I would do is that every day I would wake up, and I don't know, I was either extremely lucky, or at the time Instagram didn't like ban you if you did this, but I had like 10 accounts under one like profile. So basically what I would do is, my goal was like, I'm just gonna try to reach out as many companies, and they were like I didn't even try to sell them. I think my pitch was like, hey, listen, my name's Alex. Like the first message was like, I had a whole thing where I would like send the first message and it was like, hey, just want to say I'm a big fan of the brand and blah, blah, blah. And then the second message was hey, I think you would like this, and I sent some content. And the next one was like, hey, can I make you a cover frame, which I made up, which was basically like, if you know, like those Forbes magazines or like those Inc magazines, basically I would take that template, I would make it on Canva, and I would just take away their logos and input the company's logo and change the names and make it all like cool and whatnot. But that's what I did. So that was my scripting process, or my machine. And I just, every day I would just DM literally hundreds of like brands. And again, that looking back, like I can't even do that now, because like we tried it again, and like you need literally hundreds of accounts to do that. And it was a whole thing. But basically at the time I got like a bunch of Instagram profiles under one account and just creating new ones. I don't know why they didn't ban me, but I think I still have them today. But I did that, and I just started making a bunch of like a few like one or two posts, and I would just DM every day, DM. And I did that for so long. Let me rephrase, not for so long, but for such a high volume. Like I was probably sending over 1,000 DMs a day. Like I was just hammering in all day in like my winter break. I remember it was winter break because I remember I woke up one Christmas morning, or it was around Christmas, and I remember I ended up speaking to my first client around that time, or that day I'm thinking of. But I'll get to that in a second. But I just started I started doing so many Instagram DMs, and eventually I got a response from this one guy, and he was like, oh, sure, yeah, you can make a cover frame. I'm like, cool, this was probably like fifth one at this time. And I sent it to him, and I'm like, hey, cool, man, you know what? Would you be open just to share a story? And he was like, oh, yeah, maybe later, and, you know, maybe down the line. But the follows go crazy. A month later, maybe like a week later, I follow up again. I'm like, hey, still want to share that story? It's like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm like, oh, okay. And I'll say that the brand was called Nexus. I don't think he does it anymore. I think he just didn't stop. But I spoke to like the first guy, and basically I remember this moment. I hopped on a call with him, and basically my whole intention was, I'm just gonna listen to him, and at the end of it, I'm just gonna try to do Facebook ads for him. At that point, I was like, I don't even care. I don't even want to get paid. I'll do it for free. Just let me let me go in a Facebook ad account. Let me just try it out, because I would just see on YouTube, and I'll try myself, but like it's not a real one, and you didn't spend money. Let me just try it out for you. And I remember the audio, because I recorded the meeting on my phone, and he was like, I'm like, yeah, so like, could I like do Facebook? And I don't want to charge you anything, but I thought, you know, maybe you could use them, and if you use them, great. And if you don't, no. But would it be fine? And he's like, sure. Was it? Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not? Yeah, that's fun. Oh, okay. Cool, man. Well, okay, what time do you want to meet up again? And I basically, it was like, schedule another meeting to do the Facebook ads. And at the end of the call, I close it. And I remember I was just like, let's go. And I did I don't know if you've seen the Michael Jordan, I think it was when he won, I think it was when he went to his third championship, or one of the finals in the NBA championship. But he jumps up and he's like, he throws a basketball and he goes like, let's go! And he started going like that, pumping his chest and everything. And I remember I did that. I was like, let's go! I freaked out. And I started thanking God. I'm like, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. And to me, that was like the biggest win, because even though that was, I don't want to say it was technically a client that was paying me, but to me, that was like, done. I'm running an ad account. And we actually did end up running some ads, and that was my first ever kind of like trial, 6 months in. Very grateful for that. And that's how I got my first a little bit of experience. Never got paid by him. But here's where you thought that would be my first client, but that wasn't. The first client happened literally, I think it was the same week. It was crazy. And the first client I know knows this. I might say your name, I might not, just because, you know, it'd be funny not to say it. I love you, man. But basically, around the same week, I pretty much did the exact same thing I did to Nexus. I think his name was Lorenzo. But I told this guy, I was like, he owns a chocolate brand, I'll say that. And I'm like, hey man, listen, you know, I love the brand, just want to let you know. And he was like, oh, cool. And then on the next message, I'm like, hey, by the way, if you ever wanted to like get some ad advice, you know, I used Social Proof. I was like, I had my own nonprofit for a few years, so I know about marketing and all that. He's like, oh yeah, cool, man, I'll let you know. And the next one, I was like, hey man, do you think you'd be open to share your story? And he was like, yeah, sure, man. I mean, you know, and he kind of started vetting me out a little bit. He asked about the nonprofit, if we were like a 501c3, and like how long you been doing that. He's like, oh, okay, well maybe. But he's like, you know what, just text me on WhatsApp. And I texted him on WhatsApp, and I called him, or I texted him like, hey, it's still a good time. Yeah. Pretty much we get in a meeting, and he tells me a story. And I remember it was just like a phone call, and I remember just being very interested. I'm just trying to learn. And one thing that I remember impressed him a lot, for anybody that's kind of starting out, even in business, big business, sometimes you need a reminder. Before the meeting, I just dived into his whole like website, and I looked at his website, and looked, and he had a lot of like mascots to be part of his website. Excuse me. And I just started looking, and I did a bunch of different things, like about understanding his Instagram. I went through his Instagram, his Facebook, especially his website, and to the little things you'd even click on, like, sure, who clicks on about us, but who clicks on the mascots? You know what I mean? Like, I went through the entire website. And then on the call, I already knew like this whole story. So when he's saying, I'm like, oh yeah, and by the way, you have the mascots, right? Oh, when did you do this? Or what's the story? Oh, do you want to make a TV show out of this? And he was like, what the? He was like, hey, this is the first time somebody ever said this to me. Like, he's like, man, you did your homework. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just a big fan. I told you. And eventually, what ended up happening was, at the end of the call, I was like, hey man, can I send you some ad creatives? You know, you don't have to use them, but you know, I'd love to send them to you. He's like, yeah, sure, man. So I sent him the Facebook ad creatives, and I sent it to him, and I'm gonna say his name is Tyler. Absolutely love the dude. He was like, I owe him a lot just because he was the first guy that invested in me, not even with money, but in time and resources. He connected me with the guy running his Facebook ads. He got me my first client after him, and one of our bigger clients now, he referred me to them. So it was a lot of things, but basically, long story short, I sent him the ads. He used them and made like one sale. He's like, oh, you know, might as well. And he hopped on a call, me with him, and hit the guy running the Facebook ads for him at the time. And the guy kind of vetted me out. He's like, hey, well, you know, what's your intention here? And I'm just trying to like learn. I remember he made like a Wolf of Wall Street. He's like, try to get sales, you know how to talk. I'm like, no. He's like, oh, you know Wolf of Wall Street? I'm like, no. I was lying. I did. I don't lie anymore. I try not to lie anymore. But yeah, and basically that was the whole thing, and I did Facebook ads for him. I kept on sending him ad creatives for like a month, and after he was like, he says this in this testimonial. If you go on my YouTube, you'll find him, and he says it. He's like, yeah, man, like we don't really need any help with our Facebook ads. Like we already have that kind of covered. But if you want, we're not really doing anything with our email marketing. Like, you know, I think that may be like a better fit if you want to try it out. And at that time, I was really still into Facebook ads. Like, I'm going to be like a Facebook marketing agency and all that. But I wasn't against it. Like, I wasn't, you know, by the way, I was horrible at Facebook ads. I still am. Like, I think I made that one sale out of luck, and maybe made him like 5 total sales in general. He probably makes that like times 10 in a day now. But basically, I was like, sure, why not? So I wasn't against it. I did an email for him, and we launched it on Klaviyo, and it made money. Made more money than any other Facebook ad I ever launched, and it made money in the first try. And I was like, oh, that was great. That's when I freaked out. Like, that was a big freaking out moment, because I'm like, I actually made money for them. And I did it a few more times, and eventually we hop on a call. This is maybe like our 15th, 20th caller. No, I mean, not that much, but it was a good amount of calls. And I was like, hey, man, or he was like, hey, man, the emails are working well. I want to pay you. And I remember at that point, like, I was so into just giving value. Like, and it sounds corny, but, like, I really didn't even want to charge. Like, I remember hopping on the call, and he told me, he's like, hey, man, you could do our emails now. Like, you know, I trust you and everything. And I'll pay you. I'm like, oh, don't even worry about it. He's like, no, I'll pay. Like, he's like, no, like, let me just pay you. Like, you didn't do a commission. I'm like, oh, okay. And it was a 30% commission because it was one of the smaller brand back then, obviously. And we hopped on the next call, and I was like, it was a funny story, but basically hop on the next call. He's like, okay, yeah, man, you ready to do it? And 25% commission. And that Christian at that time already joined. He probably joined in. Christian, when did you join? It was winter. It was February. It was February. But he's in the. Are you eating? Cap. No, I'm playing. No, but yeah, it was around that time, whatever. So Christian's already on it, and he's already he was already in the business. So I think he was like helping me. I think he was trying to do sales, and I remember on the call, he's on the call with me and Tyler. Tyler doesn't see him, but he's like behind the camera, and he's like, oh man, so yeah, you ready to do it for 20%? And I'm like, and then Christian's like, he's like, and I look at him, he's like, oh yeah, no, I think you mentioned 30. And he's like, oh yeah, 30, that's fine. And it was funny, but he reminded me, and that ended up being like 50% more if you do the math. So like that was crazy. I remember like, dude, you made so much money. And we started doing emails for him, and that was our very first client, paying client. The other person, it didn't work out. It was both sides. Like it got to a point where I was still working with him, but I was focusing so much more on email and I was still helping him. So I was like, I just got to let you go, man. And I was like, hey man, I pretend I'm like, hey, I'm going to work at a job. I got hired or whatever. He's like, oh, cool. Maybe next time. But I just told him that just to kind of be like, yo, peace be with you. And I just focused on Hummy. That's the brand name. So now you know the full story. But yeah, that's how we got our first client. And I just started doing that every day and just learning more about email marketing. And that's when I really started getting like more into like just getting clients and everything. And we started sending cold emails, and then I got my first referral. And the story of how we literally made our first dollar, like that was a special moment I take to heart. And yeah, just a bunch of other things, but that was how we got our first client, and we're taking it now. Made a humble amount, $200,000 for our email and SMS marketing for our clients, and working with amazing brands that I could not be more thankful to be part of. And we're growing. Now we're in Mexico, beautiful place, even though it's a little cloudy, funny enough, but it's a good time, and two best friends here, so how can I complain? So that's the story of how we got our first client. I'm probably gonna make more of these videos just because to me it's so much more easy to tell stories and not have to script something out, and I'd rather just take this transcribe and just post it on LinkedIn and that type of thing. But yeah, it's funny. But to me that was a funny, I don't say funny, but that was a nice little part of my life. So here we go.